What is up guys, Flashfire here, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys a competitive team build-up for Volcanion in ORAS OU. If you guys want to see a placement of this team, down in the description below, please be sure to drop a like. If we can get this to 70 likes, I'll put a placement down in the description so you guys can copy and paste it into Showdown and play with it. Now this team is pretty fun, it's quite offensive, and it's been doing pretty well on the ladder, so if you want to use it, drop a like I said. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm running a laddering series on my channel right now, and I'm going to be using this team in the next part of it. So if you've missed any of that and you want to catch up, I'll leave a link down below to the first part of the laddering thing, and the live with this team will probably be up tomorrow. So if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button to see this team in action. Now, as you guys know, Volcanion has just been made playable on the OU ladder. I'm not too sure if it's been released in the proper games yet, but either way, it's a super cool and really interesting Pokemon in a competitive sense. It's got its own unique typing in Fire Water, and its own signature move in Steam Eruption, which is basically like the love child of Scald and Hydro Pump. It's a 95 base power move, as you guys can see. 110 base power move, sorry, with a 95 accuracy. It's got a 30% chance to burn, so it's the power of Hydro Pump, more accurate, and with a 30% burn chance, which is just ridiculous. So this move is crazy good, and makes this Mon even better than it already is. It also has Water Absorbs, its ability, which is pretty cool. It makes it a good Scald switch in some situations. Obviously, some Mons you don't really want to be switching into water moves, Scalds, all that kind of thing. An example of that would be something like Starmie or a Rotom. Obviously, you can switch into Rotom's Hydro Pump, but its Volt Switch is going to hurt like a bitch, and you can switch into like Starmie Scald, but if it's packing Thunderbolt, which you might start to see some Starmie, well, more Starmie doing, because of the Volcanion being released in OU, then that's going to be a problem as well. Now, obviously, even with all these cool new fancy things that Volcanion's got, its stats are really important. This guy, as you can see right here, it's got decent HP, 80 HP, and then defenses are 120 and 90, which is pretty damn good. Generally, if you've got like 100, 100, 100, you're nicely bulky. So this guy definitely has decent bulk. He can take a couple of hits, a number of resisted hits certainly, which is really nice. And then we have the very nice 130 special attack right there, which makes this guy a very strong special attacker. We also have the 110 attack right there, but this guy doesn't really have the coverage to follow through with that, and obviously because we want to be abusing Steam Eruption as much as possible, we are going to take a special route right here. Now, the least good thing about this guy is its middling speed and its weakness to Stealth Rocks, which means that it's not going to be an amazing Scarfer, it's not going to be an amazing fast Mon in its own right anyway, and obviously its weakness to Rocks makes it difficult to switch into stuff sometimes. So, with that in mind, what I've decided to do, the set that I've decided works best on this guy, as has most of the competitive community, is to slap choice specs on this guy, and just make him a wall breaker. So we have Steam Eruption, Fire Blast, and Sludge Wave on there. Obviously, Steam Eruption, amazing move. Fire Blast, also an amazing move. That gives us the dual stab coverage, because this guy is a Fire Water type, as I mentioned earlier. And then we have Sludge Wave on there to hit Fairy types, and, well, that's pretty much it. Just Fairy types super effectively, stuff like Azu and Clefable. Oh, and Mega Altaria, which otherwise walls this guy. And then finally we have Toxic on there. Now, I know this guy gets Earth Power, I'm aware of that. The reason we're not running it is pretty much the only thing it hits that Steam Eruption and Fire Blast don't is opposing Volcanion, and we don't want to be using our Volcanion to kill other Volcanion, what's the point? But Fire Blast and Steam Eruption deal with all the things that Earth Power would deal with that aren't Volcanion, so there's no point really in running it, in my opinion. And then the final move we have on there is Toxic. I played around with other things. Obviously, you could. The final slot, you haven't really got anything special to put on there, and you haven't really got anything physical that's worth putting on there. So basically, your options are stuff like Will-O-Wisp, Sleep Talk, Explosion, Toxic, Sub if you're not running specs, but obviously we are, so less of an option. I've gone for Toxic right there just because the things that switch into this guy are stuff like bulky water types and the Latties are the main things that switch into this guy, because obviously he can't really do too much to them. So slapping a Toxic on those is good because it lets us whittle them down and all of that kind of thing. Now, the EV spread we've got on here, the reason that I've done what I've done is it gives us enough speed to outrun most variants of defensive Lando T and most variants of defensive Rotom Wash, which is important because Steam Eruption will OHKO Lando, obviously, and it actually 2-hit KOs defensive Rotom, which is ridiculous, so outrunning the Rotom can be very important for this guy. Obviously, we're not running max speed on here because I don't see the value really in speed time with a bunch of base 70s, and also most base 70s that are running max speed are going to be running Jolly anyway, and we're running Modest for extra power, so I don't see the value there, and obviously it gives us a little bit of extra bulk in HP, which is nice. Now, one of the main things this guy struggles with, like I said, is the Lati twins, and well, it's those guys and bulky waters. So to deal with the former of those two problems, we have our lovely Assault Vest Metagross right here. This guy is running Pursuit to trap the Latis, which is fantastic, obviously, because it removes them and makes them less of a problem for Volcanion, which is lovely. It's basically just here to sponge special hits and get rid of the Lati twins. It also gives us a secondary out to fairy types if Volcanion is otherwise engaged. If we can't get Volcanion in and we need to deal with the fairy type, this guy is the next best thing, because obviously Sludge Wave on Volcanion. And it gives us access to some nice priority in Bullet Punch, which is fantastic. The EV spread we've got on here is specifically so that we never get 2-hit KO'd by Mega Alakazam Shadow Ball, and we have a bit of staying power with our attack right there. The Bullet Punch can actually come in clutch, which is very, very nice. And Earthquake is just there, obviously, to hit stuff like Heatran and Magnezone and all of that kind of stuff. Now, the next one we're going to go over is Volcanion's main offensive partner in Mega Diancie. This Diancie, as you can see, is not going to be packing the Earth Power and has instead opted for HP Fire. This is because we're going to be using Volcanion and also the next one we're going to go over primarily to eliminate Steel and Rock types that Earth Power is normally for. Also means we're able to catch and KO Scizor and Ferrothorn on the switch so that Scizor doesn't force you out, all that kind of stuff. And it does around 70% to defensive Scam Ready. This is with Hidden Power Fire, by the way. Obviously, as well, running HP Fire does sacrifice our ability to speed tie with other base 110s like Gengar, the Latis, Mega Metagross, all that kind of stuff. But most of those things, you don't really want to risk the speed tie anyway. Speed ties are scary. I don't like them. So in most situations, you're going to be wanting to avoid the speed ties. Obviously, in some situations, you can't, and then you're sad. But I feel like it's worth running the HP Fire right here. This mod also gives us a good out to stuff like Tornadus and Talonflame. Obviously, this guy can take a hit from Talonflame all day long, and Oko with Diamond Storm. We can also get really, really good damage on most Tornadus variants with Diamond Storm. I don't believe it's a one-hit KO, but it's a good amount of damage. Like after Rocks, it'll KO for sure. And then Moonblast is obviously just there for powerful, powerful stab, which is great. And then finally we have Protect on there because it means that we're guaranteed to get our Mega Speed against stuff and not get hit and all that kind of stuff. And it also lets us scout choice users. As all protects do, and if we've maybe got a Toxic off with Volcanion, then we can stall out extra turns. I don't know. It's just kind of utility. It's there, and you can use it. You don't just have to use it to get your speed. It has other utility, so that's fantastic. Now, like I said, the next one we're going to be going over is going to be helping us deal with Steel types in a big way. This is our main revenge killer and all-round just one of my favorite Scarfers at the moment. This is Reckless Mienshao. Now, this guy is ridiculous. Reckless boosts the power of Crash and Recoil moves by 1.2, which makes High Jump Kick extra powerful. Which is really freaking cool. Reckless High Jump Kick just 2-hit KOs so many defensive mons in the tier, Skarm and Rotom included, and it's able to OHKO a large number of offensive threats. Its speed tier, while it's not amazing, it's still decent enough that it's able to outspeed a lot of threats. Obviously, any Scarfer that's less than base 100, I'm looking at you, Excadrill, and things like +1 Charizard, +1 Volcarona. Because we're base 105 rather than base 110, we're able to outspeed those guys and hit them up with that High Jump Kick or that Stone Edge, which is fantastic. Something to note with this guy is that we are running Knockoff and Stone Edge for coverage. They should be used very sparingly and not very much. The main moves you want to be going for right here are U-turn and High Jump Kick. U-turn to gain offensive momentum and High Jump Kick just to absolutely nuke something. This guy's I can't stress how good High Jump Kick is on this guy. Obviously, it's great until you miss 2 in a row and your Mienshao faints and you're really sad, which has happened to me once, and it's so distressing. But anyway, this also gives extra value to the Pursuit trapping on the Metagross. Obviously, if your opponent's running Ghost types and all that kind of thing, Pursuit trapping Gengars and all that kind of shenanigans is fantastic for making sure they don't have any High Jump Kick immunities, which is good. And obviously, this guy right here can deal with Mega Sableye quite nicely, which is a good time for us. Now, as you guys can see, this is a very offensively based team, and I've attempted to balance this out slightly with the next two mons. Here we've got our defensive Lando T, our Stealth Rocker, and he's missing a bunch of EVs, which is really fun, I believe. Wow, what has happened right here? It's just changed my EV spread for no apparent reason. But this is the EV spread we're meant to be running. This is a Stealth Rocker, all-round check to physical attackers, because as you can see, lots of offense, we don't really have switch-ins to stuff at the moment. Of course, if another team's packing a lot of offensive threats, then this guy's going to get worn down very quickly, which is one of the reasons why we have Healing Wish Lati in the final slot. And it's also why we're running lefties over Rocky Helmet on this guy. Obviously, the idea with this team, because it's an offense team, is to pressure your opponent with offense rather than be relying on a defensive crutch, but it's nice to have something that you know is going to be able to switch in and pivot and just have a good time. So that's what we're going for right there. We also have enough speed on this guy to outspeed max speed modest Volcanion, because I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot of that running around, and we can hit him up with that Earthquake real quick, which is great. Stealth Rock also fantastic for putting on pressure and all that kind of shenanigans. Now, like I said, the final mon we're running is going to be a Healing Wish Latias. Now, I've chosen to use Recover over Defog on this guy, which is possibly interesting, but it's mainly because this team isn't especially weak to rocks. The only weak thing we have is the Volcanion, and then 3 of the remaining 5 mons resist rocks. So I feel like we can get away with not having hazards removal on this team. Obviously, there is the issue of hazard stacking, but we have the Mega Diancie there with the Magic Bounce, which is generally able to control hazard stacking, which is always good, and you can always force your opponent to defog by setting rocks, so that's always good. I did test this team quite extensively yesterday, and I found that the lack of defog did not make an awful lot of difference. So that's absolutely fine. And obviously we've got our dual stab right there, Draco and Psyshock, to just nuke stuff as much as possible. We have the Recover on here, mainly because this is our only real check to special attackers other than Metagross, but this guy, I like having Recover on here. It gives it a bit of extra longevity. It's our main check to Volcanion, and it's our main check to Keldeo, both of which, if they're on the same team, can wear this down quite quickly, which is where Recover is very, very useful. And obviously we have Healing Wish on there to, you know, bring back any of our potential offensive mons, or even Lando if we need it, in the late game. Healing Wish can be super clutch, and I've grown to love it a lot recently, so it has been putting in some work, which is fantastic. So there you have it, guys, my first attempt at a Volcanion team. Now, something to note about this team is that it does struggle a bit with bulky waters, Vaporeon specifically, as it runs Protect, making high jump kick dangerous, and the most damage Volcanion can deal to it is about 45% with a Sludge Wave, which does give rise to potential toxic stalling, which isn't ideal for you. With that being said, I went something like 25-4 on the ladder with this team, with 2 of the battles I lost being due to missing high jump kick. I think one of them I missed high jump kick twice in a row, like I said, and that was just awful, and I think I missed a Steam Eruption for game as well, so, like, this team does win the majority of its games, I found. And it's been doing pretty well, so that's great. And obviously Toxic is right there so that we can deal with stuff like Vaporeon, and hopefully it doesn't become too much of a problem for us. But yeah, as always guys, if you like the team, be sure to drop a like down below, and if you don't, tell me what you don't like about it down in the comments, and tell me how I can improve it, because I want to make it better. I always want to make it better. So be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already to catch the live with this team, and I will see you guys in the next one.